What's up, everybody? Jensen Cummings here. Thank you for tuning in. Best Serve Fast, one of our new channels, fast casual, multi-unit, growth concept, ghost kitchens, franchise, everything in kind of the opportunity for growth in the hospitality industry. Great show today. We have Kelly Grossberg, who is the executive chef partner of Seasons 52. She's based in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Kelly, thanks for being on.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, as the title said, jobs, not the food, it's the people. I am such a believer. I was so excited to get you on the show because of that statement that you make. We'll talk about that quite a bit. That's what you're in store for. As always, we're talking about people. It's not what's on the plate, it's who gets at the plate. You know me, I am an all-in buyer of that philosophy. So, Kelly, tell everybody kind of the Webster's Dictionary definition. What is Seasons 52?
Yeah, so Season 52, it's a pretty awesome brand. Everything on the menu is under 595 calories, but you don't miss out on anything. So you're eating healthfully, but if you're like me, you don't really try to eat healthfully. It just kind of happens if it tastes good, and that's what we do. So 100% fresh whole produce. There's not a fryer in our kitchen. We use oak wood grilling. We use brick oven roasting. And we use really simple techniques to just let the food be the food. Because we use really great ingredients, and you have a lot of people putting a lot of love into them. You don't need too much more than that.
Just let the food be the food. The end. Interview over. That's it. That's all we need.
We don't need more than that.
That one perfect soundbite from you. You nailed it. We're not even 2 minutes in. 592. What does that? Is that number significant?
595 calories. It's just under 600 calories. It's kind of a threshold for our brand that. It used to be much more restrictive. I want to say it was like 400 calories or less, but then you really sacrifice a lot. So we can still use butter. We can still use cream in our food. So we're not missing too much of that, but you can still also eat on a really restrictive diet. You know, we're known for people who have, food allergies, intolerances, preferences, things like that come and dine with us because we can do almost anything for them. Because again, we don't mess with a lot. So, you don't need to do anything to make scallops gluten-free.
Yeah, I love it. The number of locations, when did the company start? Give us a little of that kind of background real quick.
Yeah, so the company's been around, I think, since the 80s in Florida. The original founder began it kind of with this concept of being a fresh grill. And so we were purchased by Darden. I honestly have no idea when. So we're owned by the same company that owns Olive Garden, Longhorn, Cheddar's, Eddie V's, Capital Grille, Bahama Breeze, so on and so forth. So since we became that brand, our home base is Florida. Most of our restaurants are there. I think we have around 40 around the country. Okay. So I started at the one in Denver as the sous chef, and then was able to transfer down to Albuquerque about a year ago to take over as the ECP.
Awesome. We'll get into that for sure. Take us all the way back. When did you first catch the hospitality bug? Where and when was that for you?
That is such a good question. So I worked in restaurants through high school and college. I think my first job was KFC. I was 14 or 15, working in the drive-thru. My mom signed the paperwork.
Let's go. Whatever it takes. Get that job.
Yeah, I really wanted to have a cell phone, so that was what I needed to do. So I liked restaurants, and so when I was in college, I ended up getting a job at a restaurant in downtown Colorado Springs. I had a day job as a marketing person and was locked behind a desk 24/7 and didn't have a social life. So I was like, I worked in restaurants before. I'll go back and do that again. It'll kind of be my social life. I'll find some friends, and then I can do this marketing thing as my big kid job. And that's when I got bit by the bit hard. So I started working at Nosh, and I want to say it was my first few weeks. I was a food runner. I was a host. I was a busser. I was what they called the dog god. We would have dogs come and sit on our patio for Saturday service because we had this massive patio. So I would like clean up after them and set up kiddie pools, and that was my restaurant job. It's a weird story, but I ended up realizing
this is exactly what we need. It's like everybody right now who's in restaurants is resonating with this story. We all have some weird first beginning, something that you don't think about a lot, but then when you do, it makes you smile. Other people go, oh yeah, I feel you. I remember that. Or they worked at the same restaurant. You know, I think it's such an important thing. It's why I always want where the genesis is. Where did it start for us? So I think that's super cool. And the fact that it was KFC, like, let's go, whatever, wherever and whenever you start, that matters. I think it's super important. What's the restaurant in Colorado Springs called?
So it was called Nosh. It was kind of the first swanky restaurant, and I started there because I loved going there as a guest. I was not an adventurous eater, but that was somewhere that I would eat pate or I would eat something kind of funky and weird, and really enjoy it. So I was like, yeah, I'll apply at this place that I enjoy, and what the heck, why not? So a few months in,
is really important, Kelly. I really appreciate what you just said. You ate there. Like, what a thing for us to think about, the guest experience, not just from the transactional nature of it, only as good as your last plate. You're like cultivating a future employee. Like, and when we talk about how, I mean, labor shortage is a massive, massive issue pre-COVID. I always think that it's not a labor issue, it's a culture issue at scale. And if we spent more time cultivating future Kelly Grossbergs, we would have a stronger workforce potentially. So I really appreciate you kind of saying that. All right, take us forward. What are a couple pivotal moments in your career? Maybe what brings you to Denver? What are a couple spots we need to know about kind of your backstory?
Yeah, so it was first at Nosh that I kind of got to be a shift lead or an hourly manager. And that's where Tyler Scheidel, who is just my hero, my mentor, love this guy. Him and his wife are huge, huge idols of mine. He was the first one that saw somebody who was really energetic. I was a hard worker, I was talented, I was smart, but I was really bad with people. I was really egotistical. I was really snappy. He was the first person to sat me down and was like, you might be a hammer, but not everyone is a nail. So you might need to work on that. So he coached me a lot in just really basic, fundamental leadership, empathy things. Like, you can't treat people like that. They have to want to follow you, which of course I needed to learn. That didn't come naturally. So Tyler Scheidel was a huge part of it. He was the one that kind of got me to fall in love with restaurants and see that it's a lot more than just really awesome food. And then I left Nosh and that company and I joined On the Border, which is a corporate restaurant, needed some more stability and structure. And that's where I worked for a lady named Shannon Quintana, who is another just absolute hero, idol, mentor. And she was the first manager that I worked for that had like an HR training background.
Okay.
I'd worked for a small company before, so we dropped F-bombs in meetings and we worked from home and it didn't matter. So she was the first manager that was like, hey, you can't say that to someone. Like, people can't work off the clock. You have to treat people this way. You have to celebrate monthly birthdays. And I say it's corporate structure, but it really was just her and her tremendous leadership. But she kind of took what Tyler started in me with working with people and understanding that you have to develop relationships. And she was really the one that showed me that you have to be a different manager with every single team member. So, at On the Border, we had 30 team members, maybe. I'm 30 different managers to every one of them. Now I have 70 team members. I'm 70 different managers to every one of those people. So there's a lot of different places throughout my career, but those two people individually in kind of the small business and then the corporate world have just really been the big foundations for how I lead and how I look at my position today.
You are checking so many of my favorite boxes today. This is really great, Kelly. I talk a lot about, it's not their responsibility to learn what you have to teach. It's your responsibility to learn how to teach them. And that is it's easy to say. It is so hard to accomplish. Again, you're a hammer. Not everyone's a nail. I mean, you're on fire right now. I love it. And I think
I've been taught a lot of lessons, okay?
Hard lessons, I'm sure. Same here. I had to get it drilled into my head multiple times for anything to stick. And I think we're like that in the industry. Like we're such team players, yet we're also so egotistical. And the dynamic is such an interesting, unique concept, which is why a lot of people from outside, like, you don't get it until you've been in the shit with somebody and, and are dropping F-bombs like it's your job. Like I completely understand it. Everyone watching and listening, I'm sure, does as well. So it makes a ton of sense to me. What then brings you to Seasons 52?
So it's funny that it kind of stood out earlier that it was a dining experience that made me start at Nosh, because it was actually a dining experience that made me apply with Seasons 52. So it was a few years ago. My husband and I lived in Colorado Springs, and we went to Denver for brunch one day, and the place we were going had a 7-hour wait, as they always did. So we were like, it was snooze, of course. So for whatever reason, we didn't plan. So we Googled, brunch nearby, and we found Seasons 52. It was a Sunday, and they did brunch once a week. So it just happened to be this day. We didn't end up ordering brunch. We ended up getting whatever lunch menu was, but it was for my husband's birthday. We had no reservation. We walked in, we were not dressed nice. It was nothing consequential whatsoever. And they did the whole treatment. They not just did a birthday dessert, but they bring out a tower with a lit candle and they write a card. And of course, now working in the restaurant behind the scenes, I know they've got a stack of those cards at the host stand and everybody signs them on rotation. And nobody was like, oh, we need to give this guy a card for his birthday. But man, it felt like they did, right?
Preparation matters. Absolutely.
It was huge. And there was a rose and there's all this crazy stuff. So when I was thinking about leaving on the border, because I had a little bit of a challenging relationship with my leader and getting me stable help in the restaurant with assistant managers, I asked my husband, I'm like, what do I want to do? Like, I want to make the right choice. I don't want to just, jump ship and, be somewhere for 2 years. Like, I want to be somewhere that feels good. And he was like, well, do you remember where we went for my birthday? Like, that was a cool experience. I was like, sure, why not? So I applied at Seasons 52. They were looking for a sous chef with front of the house experience. And this is one of my favorite parts of my whole story because I have no chef experience. I have no culinary experience. I've cooked on a line as a manager. Like I've been an hourly team member as a manager, as we all do. But I was never hired or employed as a line cook. I was never, I've never been taught anything. So they were looking for a sous chef with front of house experience. And I was like, I'm a front of the house manager with kitchen manager experience. Like maybe, why not? I didn't have a chance. They'd never called me back. And a few months later, we went through the process and I was their new sous chef with front of the house experience.
Does your husband have a restaurant background?
So he's kind of done the same thing that I have. He started in operations as kind of a manager and worked in the accounting office. So he works in restaurant operations, but again, I don't have a hospitality background. I don't have any education in restaurants. I don't have anything like that. It's all been great leaders and people letting me mess up a lot and figure it out.
I like breaking things. I tell Sophie all the time, break as many things as possible. That's how we're going to learn as quickly as possible.
That's exactly right.
The reason that I asked was because your husband was the one that said, hey, remember that experience we have? Just out of the blue, I'm going to set my life in motion, my career, like big. I need to make the right decision. And in that moment, it was just like, remember that one time we went for brunch? That is such an important and crucial interaction in the way that we think of hospitality. I am so excited right now about this because it's such an important thing that I truly believe. I think right away of Yumi Tran at Indochine in Parker, Colorado, is the mayor of that town. And her employees, a lot of them come from basically parents saying, my kid is about to turn 16 and they're coming to work for you because they've been coming there since they were little kids. Like I think about that and I'm really a huge believer in that as well. So Kelly, you're on fire right now. This is awesome. So
well,
good.
And it's always great because my husband, he's a restaurant manager too. So it's hard because we can't go out to eat and have a normal experience because we pick everything apart. We mention everything. We're like, that ledge is dirty. I don't have sugar packets, whatever. But it also means that when we have an experience where we're genuinely surprised, it really sticks. Where we're like, that person gave the kind of service that I would give. Like, that's pretty special. And so we remember it. And that's what we want to surround ourselves with.
All right, now let's talk about the operation itself. Seasons 52, like take us through. I walk in the doors. What's the experience that you are now trying to manifest because you're trying to find the next Kelly Grossberg? Like you're looking for that opportunity to create that experience for somebody. So let's walk us through the experience.
Yeah, so Season 52 is kind of a cool restaurant. It's the first place that I've worked where we run our business from the top of the statement down. So if you have sales, you can do basically whatever you want. And everywhere else it's been, okay, manage the bottom of the statement, manage your EBITDA or whatever, deliver this much money. And here you compress labor and you compress your costs and you do this and that. So when I started at Season 52, the experience of having a restaurant that did strong sales meant we had a lot of people. So it was the first restaurant that I walked in the door in the morning with 10 or 15 people. There were 5 or 6 prep cooks. There's a person for every station on the line, which there are 5 stations. There's 2 stewards. There's, a bartender. Like it was the first time that I walked in and there were people. And that's how you feel as a guest. You walk in and it's not bare bones. You walk in and there's a host at the host stand all the time. Now, times of COVID are different, right? Sometimes it's a manager there. Sometimes the host is, bussing a table and then coming over. But it's the first restaurant that I've worked at where I felt like as a guest and as a manager, The idea is not to skimp. It's to not overdo it, but it's to fill it with people, and then from there will come great service and a lot of bounty. So you come in as a guest. Everything in the restaurant is bright green, live, fresh plants. We're a fresh grill and wine bar, so we have 52 wines by the glass, over 100 by the bottle on our menu. And it's meant to pair with food. So there's some funky, weird stuff, but there's a lot of really approachable wine for people who look at a list and don't know where to start. And they're like, I can't pronounce any of this. So there's a little bit of something for everybody. We have a private dining room, which probably won't get used anymore. Who knows? Yeah. We have a patio. So everything is fresh plants. We don't have any fake plants. And it's, bamboo and bright wood. And it's kind of the ambiance of like if Frank Lloyd Wright developed a restaurant now. There's a waterfall, and it's all to give you the feeling of just fresh, light, natural feeling, to have this great light, roasted salmon or grilled scallops in. And we carry that through in the service, so it's very unobtrusive. It's very, we try to make recommendations but not push anything on you. Our motto is we never say no. So we don't have any fryers in our building, but if there's a kid who wants French fries, we'll walk across the street to Five Guys and we'll pick up French fries, or we'll pick up ice cream.
Say that again.
Special desserts.
I have to stop
you never say no. We do not say no.
You do not say no. I think that is so fascinating. I think I'm interesting. I talk about you don't say no. That doesn't always mean you say yes. And I think you've taken that even further to the fact that you're walking across the street. I love that. There are so few opportunities to truly create a memorable moment because we expect good food and good service and good drinks. Like if you're not doing that, get out of the business. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. The opportunity, I think of those little touches, walking across the street. You mentioned Capitol Grill. I remember Tag Restaurant in Denver, Colorado, when we opened that place right across the street, Larimer Square from Capitol Grill. I remember walking over there and getting a T-bone for somebody because we weren't a steak place, but somebody wanted a T-bone. You're damn right I'm going to do a T-bone and do some wasabi butter or whatever playful thing we're going to do. Or paying people's meter, going and if somebody came to the bar and asked for change, we not only didn't take their dollar that they wanted to change, but we'd go and find their car if it was parked on Larimer Square. Like those things are super important. So Kelly, man, I think I need to come intern for you. I just love everything you're talking about. I think this is great. All right. So, and escapist, I want to talk about that because I think this is going to be very important. There's two things happening right now in food with COVID, in restaurant experience. One, comfort food. We see people just being like, just feed me. I just want to feel good, and food makes me feel good. So there's this simplification happening on one side. The other side is escapist. I just need to get out of my house. I just need I need to be transported somewhere else. And so you mentioned having the Frank Lloyd Wright. Like, I love that's a part of the ethos of what you're doing. Let's touch on that a little bit. You said you mentioned how you're touching on that within the service. Escapist for you. Is there conversations about how you're needing to triple down on that? Like, go into that a little bit. I'm fascinated with what's happening with the aesthetic and the ambiance and the transportation of people to another place, to another time, to another dimension. Please take us somewhere else, Kelly.
Anywhere but COVID 2020 America. I think we're a little bit of a higher end restaurant. We're not fine dining by any stretch. You can go to the gym and come in afterwards and have a burger, but we are definitely that crowd of people. We are not people who are desperate to sustain themselves. They are people who are desperate to feel like they're not claustrophobic anymore. So we have found, the pressure on our procedures for, cleaning and maintenance and all of the little details of silverware being faced perfectly right and T-squared tables and all of those things. We've always had a lot of intensity around that, but people are so much more picky and critical now, because if this is the one time a week they're leaving their house, you better not mess it up for anything. You better not overcook my steak. You better not have a dirty knife in my silverware roll-up. There better not be a lipstick stain on my glass, and you better not underfill it. I better not have to wait too long for it. People are so much more picky, and I get it. I totally get it, because I'm working really hard for my money now, potentially endangering my life. So if I'm going to spend it with you, I want to feel like you're taking that super seriously. So we've passed that along. We do pre-shifts and things where we try to express both the urgency of the situation, but also we've got this, the little bit of strength that we have as a team. That people are going to be more picky, but that means we've got more opportunities to show them that we are the best people to be pickier with. So we're still making birthday desserts. We're still trying to do the little things that we did pre-COVID. And we can't make them all happen because, the situation is what it is. But we found that most people, even who come in a bad mood or in a bad spot and are ready to have a bad experience, we can still provide them with that thing that they're looking for, because my people are good enough investigators to know this person came in not happy and they need a drink, and we're going to do that for them. Or this person's hangry, or we did something here to make this person upset. We've been able to turn those experiences around, maybe even better than we did before. I'd like to think. I don't know.
I love it. Investigators. This is really great. Sophie is struggling to keep up with all the nuggets that you're dropping. This is perfect. So investigators, I think that's great. It's mindset. What's interesting is we're talking about mindset. You all are in abundance mindset, and so often we're in scarcity mindset and survival mode in restaurants. And I get it. We've been there. I've barely been able to make payroll at restaurants that I've owned. I get it. So in that scenario, Kelly, it's easy for you to do that. You have garden money, but I have one location. How do I do that? It's mindset for sure, but give us a little bit of that. You've been on both sides of the independently hustle, grind, barely make it through the day. You're wearing every single hat. You're the fry cook. You're the host. You're the everything. Talk to that crowd a little bit and say, look, there is a way if you commit and invest. Top-down sales, all these things are super important to listen to. Shifting the mindset and the thinking and the investment in the team seems like the number one thing.
Yeah. I think, obviously I do have the blessing of $1 billion bank account, and not everybody has that, but I still have to operate my building like I don't, right? I still have to operate. I think my budget for labor right now is about 14%, which as a restaurateur, before COVID, if we hit 20, that was awesome. I've worked in restaurants where 32 would have been fantastic. So yes, I have a lot of money, but I also have a lot of bills. My rent is $20,000 a month or something. So I think that for us, we have really capitalized on, and this is kind of the core of our conversation, the relationships that we've built with our team members. We've put a lot into that bank account. So now we're able to withdraw a lot from that bank account. We're really open with our team. We're really, really we don't try to hide things. So we have conversations about labor. We bring up labor in pre-shift because we've built trust with them, not because we're trying to burden them. But we say, look, today we've got 60 hours that we can spend on service. We'd rather bring in another server to make sure you guys have a good service. But that means you've got to get off the clock right away. And that means, your silverware, it can't take you an hour. You've got 30 minutes. And we're doing that so that you can have another server, so that you're not having to run as much, or it's not as hard, or whatever it is. But here's what you're going to do for me. And we've built that relationship, and we've built that bank account that we can kind of put in for that withdrawal. Hey, we're requiring you to be 1.25 people right now. But remember all those times that we were requiring you to not be 1.25 people? And they're willing to do it, and they're happy to do it. And, our team now looks forward to rolling silverware because simply having a job is a blessing. So being asked to go back and, run some stuff through the dish pit or help me prep this recipe isn't so much of a burden as it is an opportunity to make yourself more valuable. Another thing that we did that you can still do now, but that we did before the pandemic that I think set us up for success, was cross-training. Almost every one of my cooks in my kitchen knew at least 2, if not 3, 4, 5 stations. So when this hit, instead of only having 3 people who each knew a station that I had to bring in, I was able to go to my whole team and say, look, 4 stations, 4 stations. You 2 are always going to work together. And it's going to be hard shifts because really we need 3 people, but you're both going to get the hours. You're both going to be able to stay for the whole shift. You're going to get to own your station. But here's what I need from you. You have to set it up before you leave, or you have to do this for your teammate, or you're going to have to bring prep up and prep on your station while you're cooking to help that person out. So we've been able to kind of push on our team and make some more demands of them because we kind of started with that. But you can start cross-training anytime because it's not always busy. There's always a time where there's nothing on this screen. So let me come show you how to make this flatbread, or let me come show you how to tell if a steak is done, or whatever it is, because somebody doesn't have to do it 45 times to be trained on it. You can show them 3 times. And most of the time they can figure it out after that, at least to get it done.
Here's the thing. Everybody knows what I'm about to say. They've all heard it. If you have time to lean, you have time to clean. True. Yet if you have time to lean, you have time to train is maybe more important. Don't allow your training mechanism, if that's management, leadership, whatever that is, to not invest in people in that moment. That can be a lazy response to a moment where there's a teachable moment, an opportunity. So again, checking a lot of boxes. What I hear you is like my big 3 C's: clarity, communication, consistency, right? Create the clarity, have the communication, be consistent. It allows you the opportunity to withdraw more from that bank account. I think that is a great, great mentality. Amazing. Let's talk about some more people, because you absolutely crushed it. We always ask our guests, tell us about some of the people that have impacted you. And you basically wrote like your memoirs. And everybody that has ever impacted you, and we're not going to be able to get to all of them, but this is your Oscar acceptance speech. Let's rattle through some people before the music comes on, the lights go up. We got to kick you off the stage, but give us some people, because I was really impressed with how much people clearly matter to you.
It's all about people. So I think back to that time at Nosh, Belina, Sophie, Katie, the first line cooks, whoever taught me kitchen speak, Tyler and Shidell, obviously I already talked about. The people at On the Border, you know, Shannon, Ernesto, Holly, the people at the RSC, Avery Barrett, the Lone Tree team at season 52, the managers, Jesus, Jaime, Miguel, Steve, Elizabeth, Seth, Jose, and then the team that I have now. I can't name them all, but Erica, Matthew, Javier, and James, my management team, as well as my hourly team. Like, I don't do this job for me. I don't do this job for the plate. I do this job for every one of them, and they make it worth it.
That's it. It's all humans. We're communicators. We interact with humans. Food just happens to be our medium, right? You know, and I'm going to say it again. I think I'm just going to say this every episode. It's not what's on the plate. It's who gets to the plate. It's 100% the way we need to think about it. Investing in your human capital, the most valuable asset that you have. I think it's such an important thing. Clearly, that is something that is ingrained in you. Thank you, Tyler, and everybody along the way. And Kelly, I mean, great job for like listening. It's hard. I struggle with it. I'm a professional listener, and I forget the things that I've learned and when I'm trying to apply them. So I really appreciate that it's not just some stuff that's written on a wall somewhere that is mantra. It like really is the way that you're living and operating day to day. So I really appreciate it. Kelly, thank you so much for being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jensen.
All right, take care. You have a great day. We're going to talk more because I need to talk to some more season 52 people, because clearly there's something in the Kool-Aid there, and I'm into it. So I appreciate it, Kelly. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thanks. You too.
All right. Kelly Grossberg, season 52. I mean, really, really, really great stuff. I was joking with Sophie. She couldn't keep up. There's so much good stuff that they're working on, you know, and I wanted to touch on, sometimes it's easy in the independent restaurant side to demonize corporate or whatever. It's like us versus them. And I get it. There's animosities, there's this and that. There's, you know, who and how is controlling the attention of the food system and the expectation of the consumer. I get all of that. Yet for me, the most important thing is the people. Wherever the people are working within our industry, that's what I want to talk about. That's who I want to talk with. It's what I care about. And I hope it's what more and more of us care about. It's just people. The end. That's all of it. I'm so passionate about food. Yes. People is the only way that you have an opportunity to actually express yourself and bring whatever your passion around food, around experiences, around hospitality, beverages. It's the only way. It's humans. That's it. That's all I got for you. People mean everything. Yes. Best served fast. I love that we're talking about a 40-unit restaurant, a emerging concept, and we just talked about people the whole time. Best served fast, fast casual, multi-unit, ghost kitchens, franchise, growth concepts. You're going to get a lot of that. There was definitely some practical things that you can apply, as well as just its mindset. It's shifting the thinking. That's all I got for you today. Appreciate you as always. Cheers.